Hi, I'm Rushil Khurana, and today I'm going to talk about my paper Eyes on the Road Detecting Phone Usage by Drivers Using On Device Cameras. This paper was accepted at CHI 2020. Smartphones are now an extension of us, they are a part of our daily lives. Unfortunately, this also leads to using the phone in dangerous situations, such as while driving a car. In United States, using the phone while driving causes nearly 398 deaths a year and over 33,000 injuries. Every time a notification pops up, it creates a distraction and takes the user's eyes off the road. While modern phones today can already tell that you are in a moving car, this is not a default behavior seen on the smartphone. And even if it can be used to outright block phone usage, it is an incomplete system. What if you're a passenger in the car? If you're not driving, you should still be able to text freely. Outright blockage of every phone in a car is not an ideal system. What we need is a system that can not only tell that you are in a car, but also determine if the phone is being used by the driver or the passenger. And there has been prior research that has explored this idea, from using custom speakers as the infotainment systems or emanating special sounds from the phone, picked up by the special speakers in the car, or placing electrodes in the car seat. These solutions typically require custom hardware fitting to detect drivers' phone usage. There are some techniques that use only the smartphone or a smartwatch worn by the driver, but they rely on specific events such as opening of a car door or sharp turns to determine if the driver is using the phone. What if you're driving on a highway and not taking turns? There are a lot of variables in real world driving, and relying on specific events limits when the system can be effective. And when it comes to safety, this is simply not enough. So, an ideal phone usage detection system should be able to distinguish between the driver and the passenger without using any custom hardware in the car or the phone, and it should work in all possible scenarios instead of relying on specific events. Here is our system called Eyes on the Road. To build a system like that, to tackle this problem, we first collected our data of people using the phone. First, we recorded sensor data in various locations. Three positions with the phone docked on the windshield, three positions with the phone docked on the vent, and finally with the driver and passenger holding the phone. They were free to move the phone in whatever way they feel like. And we wanted to ensure that our system works in all kinds of cars and is resilient to the variance in how different users hold their phone. So, we used both the front and the back camera. Since the position and view of the camera is not affected when the phone is docked, and for the safety of our participants, we cannot ask them to drive and text, the researchers themselves drove 10 different cars for data collection when the phone was docked. When the phone was held in the hand, we recruited 33 participants to make our data resilient to human variation on how people hold the phone. We also used 16 different cars to do so. Now let's look under the hood of our system. We recorded data from both the front and the back camera of the phone. First, we take a look at the back camera. Unfortunately, the back camera was not very useful when the phone was docked on the vent or held in the hand. As you can see, it did not provide us with any useful signal. But when docked on the shield, we noticed that there was a stark difference in the vanishing point observed from three different positions on the shield. However, depending on the car type, the phone in the middle and the passenger side would flip the relative positions of the vanishing point. We think this might be due to different shapes of the car interior. While this is not a working solution, it arms us with knowledge to narrow our search space. So, with that in mind, we take a look at the key observation that forms the backbone of our algorithm. When viewed from the front camera, our view is not blocked, but also the search space is narrow. Inside of every car has certain similarities. All cars have car seats, they have a top or sunroof, and they have chicken handles on the side. Not only that, all the objects have similar shapes across different cars. And when viewed through different camera positions, the perspective of these shapes is very different. And we can use a lightweight technique of line detection to characterize this change in perspective. We use line detection in two regions, one in the top of the car to measure perspective change, and one below where the face is detected to look for seatbelts. Since we know that most car seatbelts are diagonal, we filter lines in a very narrow range of angles. Now, each image would have a different number of lines. So, for each line in an image, we create a copy, just with one of those lines. And for each of them, we extract the following features. 1. The leftmost point of the line. 2. The midpoint of the line. 3. The angle of the line measured at the leftmost point. And last, the center of the bounding box encapsulating the face. Features from each line are then classified individually, and then we take a majority vote for each of them to classify one single image. Now, it can be argued that line detection is not resilient to external factors such as clothing designs and may not be robust, especially for seatbelt detection. We completely agree. What works in our specific use case is that we are able to use a very narrow band because of how seatbelts are installed in a car. We did a study where participants wore 28 different clothes with varying degrees of design. We recorded videos for about a minute at 30 frames per second. Our system was robust and able to detect seatbelts with an average accuracy of almost 92%. Now, we also noticed that when the phone is held in the hand, a lot of the times the seatbelt is not visible. So, we did not use this feature when developing the model for the phone in hand condition and only relied on the change in perspective. Now, let's look at some numbers to evaluate our performance. We used a random forest classifier for both the docked phone and the in-hand condition. We did a 10 and 16-fold leave one car out cross-validation to demonstrate that despite different car make and models, we can distinguish between the driver and the passenger with an accuracy of 92% no matter where the phone is. Our results demonstrate that our system is resilient to different car shapes and sizes when the phone is docked or in hand. Not only that, we also performed a 33-fold leave one user out cross validation to show that despite variance in human behavior of how they hold and move the phone around, we can distinguish the driver and the passenger with an accuracy of nearly 92%. As you can see, each frame has enough informative signal that we can use to distinguish the driver from the passenger. An ideal system would not use continuous recording like we did in our user studies, but only a single image taken every second would be enough. Well, we would also like to acknowledge some limitations of our work. The ecological validity of our study is on the lower end because we couldn't ask the participants to use the phone while driving. It's an impossible user evaluation. To somewhat overcome this limitation, we used high number of participants to account for variance, and none of our features should be affected by motion of the car. We did a deep dive to explore the possibility of a solution like ours, even if it is not fully ready for the real world. Another limitation is that when the phone is docked exactly in the center, there's no observed perspective change. One potential solution there might be to use the camera to detect the direction of the finger touch. This may also be a useful technique when the seatbelt is occluded or camouflaged. Lastly, if the user really wants to, they can use unnatural phone positions and hand positioning to trick the system. So, why let it get to a point where the user has to cheat? Let's look at how our technology can help. We can adapt the app interfaces such that passengers get full access, like they should, but drivers are restricted to certain features. For example, not allowing to text while driving, but allowing voice recordings of messages. Our system can potentially nudge users towards good driving behavior, and it can potentially be used to make policy changes, such as lower car insurance rates for safer driving. In conclusion, Eyes on the Road meets all the requirements of an ideal phone detection system. It works out of the box and can work in a realistic setting to distinguish the driver from the passenger. Thank you. For more information, please contact one of the authors or read our paper.